So in this human experience, there's many intelligences that I've interfaced with. The way I'll explain this is that there's not just, we could say, one group of extraterrestrial race out there, or one group of interdimensional beings. There are many different forms of intelligences operating in different densities of consciousness. Now, the first recall that I've got is going back years and years and years, probably to about the age of 4, but I don't talk about it much because it's very vague. But there was a handful of intelligences that paid me a visit in my room one day, during the day it was, and I didn't think about it much until years and years later. Between the ages of 8 and 12, it wasn't an every night thing, but it was at times. And what I could say is that this is where the way that these beings can operate, interfacing with one's consciousness to project things that we could say are not real. We could say a mask, and they're behind that mask at times. And now I want you to keep in mind that with this is where some of these intelligences can give you a projection of what they want you to see. As an example, I would see what I'd describe as Kurt Cobain in my bedroom. Now, I know I wasn't Kurt Cobain. I was and am a big fan of Nirvana. And it freaked me out. The fear, the energy that hits your heart, it's almost like your heart being pulled down into your stomach and you're going down on a roller coaster when these types of things happen at times. Now, I will say it does depend on the type of intelligence that you're interfacing with. Over many years now, I've become adapt to this, so it's quite different. But what I saw over time was one of these intelligences vibrating in and out of what we could say is Kurt Cobain and what we typically call the grey alien. There are many forms of grey aliens, and this one is not grey, it's white. And it's part of what I'd call a group collective of beings that I know as the Guardians. And they operate for what we could say is the Council of the Whole. And they're guardians for the whole. Now, there is different forms of guardians that are light beings, and the interesting thing with this that was revealed in later years to me is that these beings are light beings, but when they come into the 3D reality, most of these intelligences have to operate within 3D physics. So they will take on a physical form, and in this case, these beings take on the form of a typical looking extraterrestrial, meaning the almond-shaped eyes, the big head, and what have you. Over the years with these intelligences, the way it's been explained to me, the best way I could explain this is that there are synthetic portal sites, technologies creating portals. There are natural portal sites. And these portal sites can be, we could say, on planetary bodies. And then you've also got the ones that are in stars, that basically all the stars hook up in what I could deem as like a universal highway. It's like an artery network of all stars connecting to each other through these electromagnetic tunnels that also hook up to what I could say is the central part of this galaxy, and that hooks up to other galaxies as well. There's a whole network of these portals, and these intelligences, they have different operations in terms of their motive, what they're there to do, and they're nor male nor female. Now, it has been described to me that they're part of what I could describe, as crazy as this sounds already, part of the House of Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel. And this is where I want you to take all this with a grain of salt. I can only go from experience. And like I say to a lot of people, and it's a fair enough question, I think on my part, as it should be directed at me, where'd you get your information from? And this is from experience with these beings, with the Shiji material, with interfacing with the large majority of intelligences during meetings with the ERC, which is the Elohim Representative Council. The operation with the Guardians is that they monitor these portal sites, all portal sites. And because of this, and the level of consciousness that they're operating at, a lot of beings are unaware of them completely, even operating, whether it's man-made created portals, whether it's at natural sites, meaning, again, on planetary bodies, and or in stars themselves. So our sun is a portal, and there is life hovering around that and within it as well. They also have an operation. Again, you couldn't put a number on how many of them there are, but there is also an operation with them to where they are monitoring trans-dimensional travel of beings when this occurs. So when beings are going through an experience, going from, let's say, a physical experience like this on board a craft, or they're being pulled completely to a different realm, these beings are monitoring that. They're almost like eyes for God Source Creator, and in a way we all are. God experiences through all of us. We're one consciousness interacting with itself, and so we're all experiencing for the Creator as well, but their job is to be what we could say is mediators and regulators within this, meaning this experience within God's mind. And this is where it gets very complex, that it's not just about extraterrestrials, but what's beyond extraterrestrials, which is another 90% of stuff, 95% of stuff going on, which is out there. And with that said, these beings are not extraterrestrials in the way that we think that they come from another planetary body, but they are trans-dimensional in nature, and they were created for what I'm describing to you. And so, for example, some people describe when they go through portals or when they're being pulled on board crafts going through purple energy. Now, this purple energy is what I'll describe as the highest expression of Metatron. Metatron is master of the electron. Metatron, along with Archangel Michael, who is master of the universe, and also the Elohim, and there's many variations, rays, meaning you've got the red ray, the orange ray, the yellow ray, following the chakras going up, green ray, blue ray, indigo ray, violet ray. They are operating throughout all that. And that's because our highest expression is an Elohim being that loses the rainbow body state to go through and experience and refine itself. And through that, it's going through the different levels until it attains the rainbow body, we could say, and goes through a union with Source again. But the angelics are vast and many. But when I'm talking specifically about Metatron and Michael, the highest expression is it's beyond an energetic form. Now, when we think of energy, we still don't know how to describe it or understand it. But what I'll say is that light, sound, and matter are all manifestations of consciousness. And they're operating what we could say is at that highest spectrum of just a conscious state. It's beyond being able to be perceived in a visual state. It's more of a knowingness and a aspect to where you're plugged into all that is and can experience all at once. It's beyond a linear mind, and most of this that I'm trying to explain is beyond a linear mind, which it's taken me many years to adapt to, where the body's gone through what we could say alterations that I believe in our original state we were adapt to more multi-dimensional mind when we were operating at 100%, meaning brain capacity. We're now at sort of 5 to 10%, but we're going back to that state. So getting back to Metatron, Michael, and the Elohim, they're what I would say is operating within the mainframe of God's Source Creator. They're operating and are the immune system within God's body, operating and being regulators of what's going on. And these guardians work in sync with that and a council for the whole. Now, the council for the whole is what I'll describe as beings that are representatives for all life that congregate and meet within this. It's different from the ERC. This is so much vaster to where it's more people's or beings, higher self, congregating within these meetings. This is very much beyond a normal thing we hear within this community with, there's galactic federations and this and that, which more to me it's been councils that I've interfaced with. And so the guardians are what we could say worker beings for all that I've mentioned here. And they work specifically with some people. For myself, it's been more of regulators of things that have happened to me on a non-physical state and a physical state, and monitoring and checking me at times, making sure that we could say I'm operating okay with a mind, body, spirit balance with some of the things that have been done to me. And these days it's fine, but in those earlier days it was, what's going on? Because I would freak out, I'd want them to go away, and again, they're not normal greys. You know, there's variations of the grey intelligences out there that people go, there's, you know, they think there's one type, or that they're all bad. There's many variations, including some that are humans in the future, but from a certain experience that I write about in Operation Starseed, it was explained to me that though there was solar events and manipulation through what we could say Draco reptilians, reptilian greys, we could say the Cabal, there were some that stayed in a manipulative state by them that eventually turned into greys, and at that stage some went and put outposts throughout space and others went to Zeta Reticuli, and there was sort of what we could say groups within all that were and have and are coming back trying to rectify what had happened. And I was told that even though it happens, it doesn't happen anymore, and this is where being childlike and getting out of linear mind with this, one can start to perceive some of what I'm trying to say. And so this is a temporal thing. There's many intelligences from not just star systems. What I would say is ETs and us are the bottom 5%. Once you get past that, there is a whole wide range of realms that are created through imagination, and then you go up to what I describe as the geometric light realms, and then you start to plug into source.